Listen, fellas, my back is easily my strongest body part. It's no secret. It's always been ahead of the curve. What is the number one thing that got me there? First and foremost, bro, pull-ups. Nothing compares to pull-ups. I tried pull-downs over pull-ups, and my back regressed in size. So being that they cannot be replaced, they can absolutely be complemented. And with the 3 exercises we're going to talk about today that I've used heavily over the past 18 months or so, we're going to talk about exactly how you do that, exactly how I did it. All right, first exercise is going to be an RDL with a reach and a pause. Now I'm going to explain what each of those technique fixes are, but what it does is obviously it works your posterior chain. It's a hip hinge. But the technique adjustments target your teres major, your rear delts, your upper back, your lats, your mid back, your lower back. It's a fucking mouthful, bro. And it honestly, for me, works all of those things just as well as a barbell row. That's a lofty statement, but I'm going to explain exactly how everything works, why I started doing it, and how you can start doing it as well. Now, backstory, why did I start doing it? I actually didn't start doing it for like my upper back. I honestly started doing it because I was looking for a hip hinge that allowed me to work my hamstrings, my low back, my glutes with less weight, because I'm very strong and I can do 5 plates or better on the RDL. And I just wanted a way to work out with less weight to still target the muscles really well. So I looked at something that Ed Cohn, Dan Green used to do back in the day a lot with their hip hinges, where they let the bar float in front of their shins by like 3-4 inches or so to make sure that, one, the hip hinge stays a hip hinge. A lot of people cheat their RDLs and their stiff legs by squatting into them. There's like a positive knee angle, but it also stretches the hamstrings a lot better. So boom, I started doing that, bro. Hamstrings are getting pummeled. They're getting beaten harder than a redheaded stepchild. But what I noticed even more than that is that my upper back was getting punished. The amount of soreness I got in my rear delts, my mid back, my freaking rhomboids, my lats was unheard of for a hip hinge, especially a hip hinge where, because of the technique adjustment, I'm only using like between 350 to 405 pounds for sets of like 8 to 15, depending upon how heavy it is. It's a minuscule amount of weight. That is baby weight for me, all right? But the amount of soreness and stimulus that I'm getting from it is incredible. It's absolutely still a lift that you can use if you're a beginner or intermediate level lifter, but you want to use the amount of weight that is appropriate for what you're trying to do and not the amount of weight that you think you should be lifting or to compete with someone else. So what are my major technique adjustments? I'm gonna break it down into 3 simple, easy steps. And I say that because when I introduce these exercises, sometimes certain things get lost in translation and it's just Charlie Brown noise. So it's 3 steps, all right? You take a wide grip, you drift the bar in front of you a little bit like we just talked about with the Ed Cohn story, and then you pause at the bottom. Now, what do these 3 things do? We're gonna start with the wide grip, all right? So what does the wide grip do? It works the lats and the rear delts and everything in the upper back harder. What it also does is that it lets you lower the bar to parallel with the floor while still allowing some space between the plates and the floor so that you can keep the stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is the most important part of the RDL and what differentiates it mostly from the stiff leg deadlift. We could talk all day about all joint angles, blah, blah. The main difference between the 2 lifts is that one has a stretch reflex and one does not. One starts from the floor, one is done floating. That's important just because depending upon how long your arms are, how short your legs are, if you grab the bar just shoulder width, you may bang the plates off the floor at the bottom. So you're just gonna want to take a wide grip that allows you, like I said, that lets your back just get parallel or parallel there. All right, next up is the reach. The reach is critical, and the reach is where, when I've posted this on Instagram and a lot of people imitate it, this is where they fuck up at. So keep in mind, bro, everyone that I have seen properly do this with between 350 to 405 pounds, deadlifts 6 plates or better, all right? So if you deadlift 405 and you say you're doing this style RDL with 405 pounds, you're fucking something up, all right? Form is very important. This is not an ego lift. This is a lift that you want to do properly to work the muscles the way that you want to work them. A regular RDL is fine. Hell, even mutant RDLs, like I said, where you're squatting into them and you're cheating, those are fine too, but this is a special exercise and you want to make sure that you're doing it right so that you reap the right benefits. It's a very simple technique fix, bro, and it's very humbling. Instead of you keeping the bar hugged close to the shins, you let the shoulders raise with an extended back, and you let the bar stretch everything from your rear delts to your lats, to your teres major, to your mid back. Bro, everything in your back, even your low back, is gonna get taxed a lot more One, you're increasing the moment arm between, you know, the weight and where your hips are at. And two, you're placing the load directly under like everything in your back, like your upper back, all right? I say start light with this movement, bro. Like I said, if you throw on 4 plates thinking you're gonna be able to rep it out and you don't even deadlift 5 plates for one, this movement will humble you. You're not even gonna be able to get 1 rep with that weight. Last up, and almost as important, is the pause. Now the pause is important because at that bottommost end of the range of motion, that's where everything is at its highest tension, everything's getting stretched the most. So you're just pausing to spend more time in that part of the movement where you're getting more stimulus. That is gonna, again, knock a lot of weight off the bar. This is not an ego lift, this is a developmental lift. If you lift 5 plates on this for 10 reps, you're doing everything correctly, you're a house, all right? But that's not gonna be most people watching the video. I can't even do that at this moment. I'm working out with, like I said, between 350 and 405 pounds. If you're doing everything right, I struggle to see someone that deadlifts, you know, unless you're in the 6 plates or better, that's the amount of weight that you're gonna be using if you're doing it properly. Next exercise is going to be the egg cone or Dan Green style of barbell row. Now it's fairly meta right now for people to use chest supported rows to avoid lower back fatigue and to target the upper back musculature better, blah, blah, blah. I know I've also contributed to that as well with me introducing seal rows to a lot of you guys. I'm not saying that there isn't a case for doing that, there absolutely is, but equally there is a case for you doing more of your rows freestanding, and then even with a little body English like you're doing with the egg cone style row. Now, it's a controlled body English, and I don't even want you to think of it like that. I want you to think of it as you're raising your torso so that you can just target different parts of the back a little bit better, essentially. So in raising your torso, you're targeting the mid-back and the traps a little bit better. And then when you lower back down to about parallel with the floor, you're overloading your rear delts, your upper back, your teres major, your lats, your traps even a little bit again, with more weight that you can strict row, essentially is what I get from the movement. Now this is a movement that can turn really quickly from you're intelligently raising your torso to you're just jerking your torso around. My buddy Sam said in a video recently actually that the biggest indicator and what you want to look out for is how fast you're raising your torso. If it's slow and in line with how quickly you're moving the weight, you're doing it right. If you're jerking and then abruptly bringing your torso back down to the bar, like a lot of people will do when they watch this and that they're going to do until they fix their form, you're fucking up, and that's exactly how you don't want to do the movement. It'll feel like a consistent tension from beginning to end if you're doing it properly, like I'm demonstrating in the B-roll. These are a tremendous exercise that for some people even can kind of fit that hip hinge, you know, slot in their training. So for me specifically, I phase certain movements in and out of my program just to keep things fresh, and 2, just bias different things. And I'm using these heavily right now. Now we just said that it was a lot like a hip hinge. What you don't want to just do is just turn this into an RDL. So some people, again, to lift way more weight than they're supposed to, because they see me working out like 265, 275 pounds on this, is they're going to just turn it into an RDL. They're going to stand way up and then shrug a little bit at the top. You don't want to go any higher than you would in, like, say, a Yates row. You know what I'm saying? You go about that high. So like 45, 60 degrees at most is how high you're going to want to raise your torso. And then you bring it back down to about parallel with the floor. If you need to stand on a deficit or use smaller plates to do that, do that. But that's more or less what you're going to want to look out for. All right, fellas, it's about to rain, so we got to wrap this shit up. Bro, you already know your boy is not gonna make a back training video without mentioning some form of seal row, which by the way was featured on the Muscle and Fitness Instagram and on their website. I didn't even know, bro. A couple of people told me and I thought, man, that's cool. Seal row stocks are on the rise. Let's go. There's a reason why we all do them. They freaking look cool, all right? And they're super effective. Here's a variation that I accidentally found, again, just like with the Reach RDL. In my home gym, I use the Bells of Steel fat pad to add more range of motion to my bench because otherwise my arms are too long otherwise, all right? What I found is because the bench is a little bit wider, I have to freaking fly the weight out a little bit. So it's exactly like the reverse of a barrel press or a fly press. Now, if you're not familiar with a fly press, it's like halfway between a dumbbell bench and then a dumbbell fly, all right? It's like a power fly, essentially. You're doing that to target the muscles of the pecs and the shoulders a little bit better and use a little bit less weight, get more range of motion than a dumbbell bench press, which you can with bulkier dumbbells. Now with, I guess you could call it, what are we gonna call this exercise? We can call it the barrel row, since like I said, it's the reverse of the barrel press. So with the barrel row, you're just facilitating that by not just pulling dumbbells in, but pulling them out and in. Like if you were trying to bring them around the barrel, all right? That's why it's called the barrel press. And then you're gonna pinch those shoulder blades together, squeeze at the top, lower back under control, and that's how you facilitate the movement. Now you don't necessarily have to do this lying down on a bench. You can facilitate the same movement standing up and hip hinging a little bit. No, it's not gonna overtax your lower back. So let's just say you did the Ed Cone style rows, and now you wanna do this to hammer the mid back a little bit better, because that's what it really targets for me. A lot of mid back. The mid back soreness that I got from this, I'm like, bro, what did I do? Why does my back feel like this? It's those goddamn seal rows I did at home. The amount of weights that you're doing on this, bro, I think I used like 65 pounds. You're not gonna overtax your lower back, no matter how strong or weak you are, with what amounts to like 120, 130 pounds, bro. Unless you're complete freaking glass back, that is not going to overtax your lower back. If anything, it's gonna aid in the recovery. So what are the mistakes to avoid? Using too much weight. Again, quality movement. You wanna make sure that you're doing the movement properly. Let me ask you a question, bro. This is a serious fucking question. Think about the amount of weight that you do on a rear delt fly. Then think about the amount of weight that you do on a dumbbell row. Do you rear delt fly anywhere near the amount of weight that you dumbbell row? And I'm only going so hard on this because I know somebody, without this being prompted to them, is going to use a weight that is somewhat near what they dumbbell row and then do the movement improperly and say, hey guys, I'm doing the barrel row. Do the movement properly. I think I only use 65 pounds myself, and I can throw around the 150s on dumbbell rows for a million bajillion reps, all right? Use the weight that's appropriate for the movement. Again, bring the dumbbells out, pinch those shoulder blades in. All right, fellas, that's all she wrote. The camera's shaking around because the wind's blowing, because like I said, I think it's about to rain. I know it's about to rain. I can smell it. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, bro, please let me know. I'm gonna head inside, grab some chow. Y'all watch these videos now that you watch this one. Have a great day.